Hey, fans of the Monday Movie Club. It's Monday, right? Okay.
Sure.
This week, Amy chose Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan from 1982. It is number 749 on the Franken list, so it does fall into my 1001 movies I have to watch before I die. But I actually already reviewed it because there was a little period where I did sequels, and this was the best sequels of all time, and this was number 5 on that list.
Is number one Empire Strikes Back?
Good guess.
The
The Godfather.
Godfather.
Godfather 2.
Oh, of
Okay,
course.
sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'm Frank Gaffney. Joel Fencer is there with Teddy Ruxpin. You want to explain the doll in the background? No? How
It's
that
not.
relates to Star Trek 2?
It doesn't necessarily relate to Star Trek 2. It does relate to sci-fi fandom. There's a bit of a stretch to get it to Star Trek. It's all about time, and
Doctor Who?
yeah, yes, it's a Doctor Who Build-A-Bear. It is the 15th Doctor, the most recent one.
Can you stop?
Okay.
I can't stop, Amy. I'm sorry.
Uh,
My wife will tell you that it's a problem.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
yeah, won't stop more appropriately.
Yeah.
Mark Wotitzgartner, who is Boner today?
Bones.
Oh,
Boner. Okay.
Hold on, the sex Trek parodies. Bones' name is Boner.
Oh, well,
Obviously.
there you go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Obviously.
Amy Goldman. What kind of name is
Oh,
that?
I didn't realize I didn't change it because
All right,
I'm
forget it.
on
It's
my
too
phone.
late now.
But I
Nanny
have my
King.
little toys. I have this,
Uh,
pen,
is it a
and I
magnet?
have this. It's
Ah,
supposed to
yeah.
be con.
It is Con. It's the Funko
That
Pop.
looks like a
Funko, yeah.
woman.
I have that somewhere. I couldn't find him.
Oh, funny.
Wow, out of the 300, it's hard to pinpoint.
300, yes.
That's a
Yeah, 300.
very conservative estimate. Amy, why Star Trek 2? You made us
Did we
watch Star
did
Trek
we
4
say
2 years
did you
ago.
say hi to Annie?
No.
I did. I
No,
said, and Annie King is in the kitchen again.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
He's not
no.
listening to me.
No one heard
He
that.
stopped listening to you like months ago.
Because last year, you guys said 2 years ago, I thought it was last year, I picked Star Trek 4 because that movie, I just love it. It's so
Years
fun,
ago.
it's so funny. But as I remember saying after we watched it, um, it's not the best of the Star Trek. Really, Star Trek 2 is the best one. So I was like, well, I haven't seen it in, 6 months, so let me rewatch it.
All right, well, here's the plot. Kirk and Spock are monitoring trainees at Starfleet Academy, and another vessel from the United Federation of Planets is about to try out the planet-creating Genesis device in a seemingly deserted portion of space, but in the process, two of Kirk's officers are captured by Khan, an enemy Kirk thought he'd never see again. Wait, okay. Well, this was my review when I reviewed. Mostly everything that Star Trek the Motion Picture got wrong is corrected in this second chapter. I said mostly. Whereas the first one was bloated with a Tam said movie grandiosity. This
Yes.
one goes back to its roots, becoming an extended episode, really, reviving what made the original series great. And this movie itself is actually a sequel to season 1, episode 22 of the original series called Space Speed, where Ricardo Montalban was
Space
Khan
what?
originally.
Base, yeah.
See,
Speed.
Seed.
Ricardo Montalban was Khan, a genetically engineered tyrant who was exiled in that 1967 episode, and now he returns 15 years later to exact his revenge, his pecs ablazing. Those are quite the pecs. Are they really his?
Yep.
Wow. This is definitely a case of the movie sequel being better than the original movie. An easy feat, since the motion picture is the second worst Trek movie ever produced. Anybody?
5.
This one is fun, action-packed follow-up with some considerable emotional kick. Episode brings back Khan, who filmed his scenes while he was working on Fantasy Island. But there's also a secondary plot where we find out that Kirk has a son, and there's that poignant death of Spock at the end. Shut up, it's been 40 years. There's no spoiler alert.
So when we get to Planet of the Apes next year, I can tell you right now what happens.
No,
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
You looked at the the cover of the VHS. You know how it ends.
I know.
Putting the cast interactions to the forefront, revving up the action, and killing Spock makes this one of the best Star Trek movies ever. Amy thinks it's the best, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, then I took some notes while I was watching it. Executive consultant Gene Roddenberry, wasn't he dead yet?
No,
God, no.
He didn't die until after Next Generation. I think he died right
Wow.
before Deep Space Nine premiered.
Wow.
But he was
The movie-
he was relegated by Paramount to that position. They didn't
Right.
put him back after the previous movie.
After the first
Yeah.
movie. The movie starts with Kirstie Alley as the captain, then we find out it's just a simulation. I'm sure at the time it was a great beginning, but now that I knew what was going on, it just went on too long. I'm like, come on, we know, get on with it already.
Yeah, but not knowing, it was great.
Yeah, back in the day. Like, wow, Kirstie Alley's the captain. The
Actually,
Kabayashi.
your question at the time would have been, "Who the fuck is Kirstie Alley?"
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was this one of the first things she did?
It says right in the credits, and introducing Kirstie Alley.
Yes.
Could have been her first movie. She could have done TV before this. Kabayashi what?
Kobayashi Maru.
Kobayashi Maru.
Maru. I remember that from Star Trek from 2009. But the Jim and Bones scene, so pompous. This went right back to, oh God, let's get on with it. So deliberate, so serious. That was when I got worried, but thankfully my fears would prove to be unfounded. Botany Bay, nice reveal. For those of us that knew, I mean, they didn't even allude to it before that. And then, of course, we have the Chekhov controversy.
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 Before we get to that, can I throw in one other controversy that's a little
Oh,
far
sure.
back to me? So the reveal of it being the Botany Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Space Seed, they jettison the Botany Bay. They don't, Khan gets rid of the ship when he takes over the
Right.
Enterprise. So why would they be on anything? Why would there be anything labeled Botany Bay on SETI Alpha 5? Because the ship's not there. They can't use it for anything.
Didn't they say that they supplied them with some type of just, I don't know.
Yeah, but they would have used Enterprise labeled supply ships and stuff.
But was
Mhm.
Botany Bay written on the ship, or wasn't it just written on like a little?
No, it was on the thing.
It was
talisman?
on the seatbelt that was
Yeah.
hanging.
Okay.
So why would a seatbelt from
Same reason that Chekhov was
right?
recommended by
They
Khan.
recycled the seatbelts.
Right.
And Chekhov, right? So he wasn't in the original episode. That's that episode of Space Seed, but somehow Khan knows who he is. That's the controversy. The worm going in the ear is still gross, even how fake it looks.
Thank you.
Still gross. Sorry. And I must say, seeing the NCC 1701, still thrilling. The music playing is like, oh.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And weirdly, a lot of the dialogue by DeForest Kelley was dubbed. When I listened to it in the headphones, I can totally hear that he looped his dialogue. Like, what's going on there? Since they were on a soundstage, you should have been able to hear him. Maybe they were just trying to correct his performance.
Yeah.
And of course, the classic line, "Are you out of your Vulcan mind?"
Well, I don't have
Brilliant.
to do my review now. You've taken every part of my review.
Was that an ad lib? Or was it written?
No idea.
No idea.
Great line.
Yeah.
And Kirk's son is so gay. Oh my God. That sweater draped over his shoulder. Good Lord.
Well, he did die of the AIDS.
Yes.
He did.
Yes.
But even his name was gay. His name is Merritt Butt Trick. He's a butt trick.
Is he
Come
related
on.
to Barry?
No, that's hat trick. He's a
he's a
hat
hat
trick. He's not a butt trick.
So now he's Harry Buttrick instead of Barry Hattrick.
Right.
Yes, sadly he died at age 29 from AIDS. And Spock's death still misted me up.
Oh my God, it was beautiful. The acting was
Like, oh my God,
beautiful.
so great. But for me, too many 20th century cliches. I mean, why would those phrases still hang on, 400 years later? It just was weird. And would they still be using Amazing Grace at funerals? Really?
I know.
I don't know. And why did Kirstie Alley get to cry while Uhura was standing there like a stone cold bitch? I'm like, really? Now, Kirstie Alley, I guess they planned on putting her in other movies, but she's not there, right?
No,
Yeah.
she's
She's not in
replaced
any.
in the next movie.
Didn't she want more money?
Yep. She wanted more money and higher billing.
Yeah.
And they
it
were
was
like, "You're replaceable." Zap.
and who was in 3 then?
Robin Curtis.
Robin
Curtis.
what?
Curtis.
Curtis. And oh my God, William Shatner was only 51 at the time, but needing the glasses were cute. I don't know if
Yes.
I think I did get reading glasses when I turned 50.
This was when he looked his best. Oh my God, he was so good looking in this movie.
I originally gave it 3 stars in my review, but since we're doing all sorts of fractions on this, I'm going to go 3.25. It still has that overbearing seriousness that keeps it from being a 3.5 star movie for me. And even the subplot with the kid, I'm like, meh. And so and on Paramount Plus, they have the 5 minute longer director's cut. And anybody know what's different? Aim,
Yes.
did you notice different stuff?
Well, Joel, the only thing I remember is I don't think they mentioned that the kid who died in it with Scotty was his nephew. I don't think they
Yeah.
mentioned that.
No, they don't mention that in the theatrical version. In the director's cut, which is really not 5 minutes longer, it's like 3 minutes longer. That's the main thing that they've added. There's a couple of extra bits to the scenes that Peter Preston's in, explaining that he's Scotty's nephew and that
Hmm.
how
That would certainly make that a little more poignant.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely more devastating because Scotty's just
He
completely all over
stayed
the
at his
place.
post.
Yeah. And there's a few other minor, like literally like 1 or 2 lines of dialogue extension.
Yeah,
Other
I bet they added lines to that stupid scene with Kirk and Bones about how he's getting old. Like,
Actually,
that went on way too long.
I
That
don't
scene
think
didn't bother
that,
me at all.
yeah, that didn't bother me at all either. And that's not one of the scenes that had any extra dialogue. I'm trying to
I
remember.
bet it did.
It did not. I'm telling you,
I
it
don't know. I did see this movie more than once, obviously. I saw
Yeah.
it. I think we went to the movies to see it. Okay, that's it. Aim.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you want to go first? It's your movie.
It's her movie. Doesn't the movie person usually wrap things up?
Always.
All right, you'll wrap things up. All right, Boner, you said you had nothing else to say.
Then you're done. Mark?
Yeah, I'm done.
I
That's
mean,
it.
Annie?
I will say, watching Space Seed first going into this for somebody like me who has I've seen the episode Space Seed when I was a kid in the when it was on reruns in the 80s, and I have seen the movie. I definitely saw it as a kid, and then I probably saw it twice as a teenager or young adult, but it had been quite a while, so it was almost like watching it for the first time. And just going in there, I love the way that the episode ends saying, I wonder what'll happen if we ever go back and visit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first season of Star Trek. They didn't even know if they're going to be renewed yet. So it obviously wasn't necessarily planted there. It just worked out perfectly that they decided
Yeah.
to go back and do this. And um, I was a fan. As we discussed on the episode, though, the close up, the soft lighting and all that stuff of McGivens, whatever her name is, MacGyver's, and her falling victim to Khan's, pure machismo was very dated in
Oh my
today's
God.
today's world. And yes, I wrote here, and introducing Kirstie Alley. That was fun to see. What was the deal with everyone calling her Mr. Savick? It was
Just to keep it militarily uniform in the sense that instead of
she's an officer, so she's
the
Mr.
officers are all misters for whatever
Okay.
reason. It's
Even in the future,
yeah,
misogyny.
it's weird and outdated and
Yeah.
misogynistic, but
Right.
Yeah, I bet they don't do that today.
Yeah.
Right. Well, obviously, she identifies as a man.
Yes.
or a Vulcan. All
Her
Vulcan.
pronouns are he, her.
Yeah.
He, her. Isn't that just they?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, she's a they.
And it was fun to see the Khan, that scene because it's all over Facebook. We always use it as GIFs, so it was fun to actually watch it for real. And yes, as Frank said, I remembered the line and loved the line. Spock, are you out of your Vulcan mind? But yeah, those damn ear armadillos still got me 40 years later. It is childhood trauma. I was like 8 when I saw it for the first time, and it still freaked me out. And for such an enhanced being, Khan aged a lot in 15 years.
Well, if you were on a planet with such a hostile environment, you'd age a lot
Sure.
in 15
But he's the
years.
superior intelligence. I don't know. It's just-
You know,
he went from Salieri to like a great grandpa.
well, you know.
That wig didn't help. It made it
Yeah.
look like gray hair.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in the third one, I know it's the Search for Spock, but it's all about Genesis, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I remember that. I'm probably gonna go back and watch Star Trek 3. So
You,
thank
you
for
might
that.
want to wait. Amy didn't turn in her list for next year.
You're
yet.
right.
Yeah, she's a slacker. I did laugh when Terrell and Chekhov materialized in a sandstorm. Okay, scientifically that wouldn't work because your atoms would merge
With stands?
with sand as you're reatomized. Everyone knows that. It's basic science.
Oh, sure.
Yes. Coming from the accountant.
Yes. Who excelled in science.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time you materialized, right? You had to have clear air. Everyone knows that.
It's
Probably
science.
the same guy that wrote Chekhov meeting the Khan is the same one who wrote the sandstorm scene.
It's science.
I did enjoy it more than I thought. I mean, I'm a Star Wars guy. If you're gonna have that fight, whatever you want to do.
Whoa, no.
But I've seen all the Star Treks, and obviously I was too young to watch the originals because I was not born. But I saw at least some of the reruns.
Well, I mean, it ran on Channel 11 during dinner time for the
I-
longest
I-
time.
I know the Tribbles.
We watched it every night during dinner.
So I've seen it. I enjoy it, and like as we discussed 2 years ago, I always loved Star Trek 4 that Amy picked 2 years ago because, again, as a kid with the whales, that was made more for kids, and it's so 80s, which I always loved. But this clearly is it's the second best Star Trek movie behind Galaxy Quest, but it was fantastic, and I like you said, Frank, the music.
Oh my God, the score is incredible.
Just seeing it for the first time and then hearing, Stardate, da da da. It really got me in the mood. I won't say I got choked up, but I thoroughly enjoyed. And the ending, of course, fantastic. 3.5 stars for me.
Nice. Annie, are you a Star Trekker? Trekkie?
Don't forget to
Trekkie?
unmute, Annie.
Trekker?
No, but I've seen them here and there. I never, watched the entire series or anything like that, but
Good
here
Lord.
and there,
You have time. You have time now.
Yeah.
I do. Yes, I could. Yes, but
If you look on Paramount underneath the movie, it lists the iconic episodes. Just watch those.
No, watch all of them.
Get right to Spock's brain.
yeah, complete it. I have to start from the beginning and watch it all.
You do.
Well, I
Yeah,
just meant if you didn't want to take the time.
yeah, because there's so many
79
other,
episodes.
there's so many other things. Like I think I only got through episode 6 on Only Murders in the Building.
Oh my God.
So lots to do, but
That's and Amy, there's 80 episodes technically since they added the cage.
Right, right.
yeah, and I never watched like Deep Space, whatever, and all the
Next
other.
Generation. Next
Yeah,
Generation.
never watched any of those.
I just recently watched Next Generation. I never watched it when it was on.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
But I did watch the movies. Movies was a fun
Yeah,
thing.
you're a
So,
movie girl. Sure.
Yeah, so I did watch the movies.
I'm a Fox girl.
Yes, and of course 4 is my favorite because of the whales. It's just funny that the being out of time is okay. We mentioned that last time we reviewed that. Okay, this one, it was fun to see, and I did watch episode 22 prior to watching the movie, so it was fun to see it, continue. And I was like, 100 years? How are they going to be there in 100 years? But when the movie started, I was like, oh, 15. Okay, that makes more sense. It was fine. It's a movie. It's got the explosions.
It's a
got
movie.
It's a movie.
movie.
So is Megalopolis.
Yeah,
That'll be on next year's list.
but yeah, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it fine. 3 stars for me.
Joel, come on. Work with me.
Amy, you got me on this one.
My favorite nerd.
Or first of all, though, I should have changed my name to Bob because Mark knows why.
Sex Trek 3, The Wrath of Bob.
Yeah.
It is the movie
Oh my
to watch.
God.
I try, just so you know, that was I looked for a background picture of that, but
No, there's nothing.
none that we can really use.
I grew up watching Star Trek, not in its initial airings, obviously, because the show had been canceled by the time I was born. But my parents were very much into the show, especially my dad. And my dad actually took me to a Star Trek convention in the early 70s when I was like 5 or 6. And that was a lot of fun and weird. And but
Nerd was born.
the nerd was born. I think the nerd was born before that with Batman, but
The nerd seed.
the nerd seed. So I'd seen, obviously every episode by the time the first movie came out, and the first movie is actually the only movie I saw in the theaters with my dad before he died, Star Trek wise, obviously. We were on a trip to Vermont with relatives, and we went in a blizzard to a movie theater in town and waited in line for this movie that we all walked out of going, what the fuck was that? Although admittedly, I have grown to appreciate the movie a lot more over the years. It is better than most people remember. It is still overly long and bloated, but even the director's cut is not as much bloated as one would think. It actually smooths some things out. But we're here to talk about the second film, which in my opinion is the best of the original series movies. It encompasses almost everything that the original series dealt with. You have, I think the Kirk Bones scene is important because it's about.
No, I'm not saying it's not important.
And I
I'm
don't
just saying
think-
it went on too long.
I don't think it goes on too long at all. I think it reintroduces the relationship between these two friends that we haven't seen in a while. I think that's important. You also obviously get plenty of scenes with Kirk and Spock. The revelation that Kirk has a son out there is expected. Because of all the women that he bedded in the original series. There's got to be more than just that one somewhere out there.
Talk about your space seed.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, other than the special effects, which are still, okay for their time, it is a film that does have some of the first computer generated, early effects in there. I think the movie holds up very well. The fact that, I was finally able to get one of my kids to sit down and watch both Space Seed and the movie with me, and he enjoyed both of them. He did pick up on the cringier aspects of Khan and Marla MacGyver's in Space Seed, but he really enjoyed The Wrath of Khan. Thought it was a great movie, and to me, it's not just a great Star Trek movie. It's a great movie in general. It keeps its tension up. It flows very well. I've seen this for probably as many times as I've seen Star Wars, the original one. I love Star Trek. The thing I love about Star Trek is that it's a very forward-thinking future, and that's something that they've always tried to embody in every iteration that's come after the original series. And I'm always reminded, there's been a meme going around the last few years with a picture of Chewie, Han, Leia, and Luke in the Millennium Falcon cockpit, but they're all pictured as if they were from The Force Awakens. And underneath that is a picture of, it's the Next Generation crew, but it's from an episode, one of the later episodes of Picard. And the top portion says, the Star Wars we wanted, the Star Trek we got. And I think that's a nice indication of that battle that Mark referred to earlier about Star Wars and Star Trek, is that we want more things out of Star Wars that we're not getting. We get those things out of Star Trek for the most part. It's just, this was a great beginning to all of that, or a relaunching of all of that. I won't get into the films afterwards. I'll just say that my favorites in order of the original crew are 2, 6, and 4. And
Me
2 and
too.
6 are almost interchangeable in that sense.
Yeah, instead of 3, I was actually considering putting 6 on my list next year.
Well, we got to do 3 at this point. You can do 6 after that. As long as we stay away
I'm
from.
going to put on 5.
Here's the best thing.
I didn't even hate 5.
I don't hate it, but it's the worst of the original crew films. It's
Yeah.
still not worse than like the two worst Next Generation films. Those are just painful. But Star Trek V has one of the best lines in cinema history ever.
Let me guess. What does God want with a spaceship?
Yes.
Frank is like, oh my God, they're such nerds.
Yeah.
Why is that a great line?
It's because it's hysterically funny and stupid.
And he
In-
says
in a
it great. He's
movie-
like, what does God want with a spaceship?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna give this honestly, there's a part of me that wants to just give it 4 stars, but part of that's nostalgia. So I'm gonna give it a solid 3.8.
Fucking 3.8.
Nobody would call 3.8 solid, but
I
go
would.
right ahead.
If it was an earthquake,
right
I'd
ahead.
call it solid.
Go right ahead. All
Just
right, I
give
like.
it a 4 for the nostalgia.
Yeah, we've certainly
All right,
been
I'll give it a
awash
4
in
for nostalgia.
nostalgia.
This is a movie that it is a remote dropper for me. Not that I do that anymore, but if I came across it, I'd stop and watch. So
Well, you came across it this week.
I did on
I
purpose.
like that you changed your name to Conjure. That's funny. All right, go now. You can go.
Now I don't want to go.
So fine. That's it for this week.
What was I just
So-
gonna say? Something about Space
Is this-
Seed. I don't remember. It'll come to me, I hope. I did love in Space Seed how when he was looking at his crew, Khan was looking at his crew, and they were all standing there, he said something to Joaquin. And I was
Yes.
like, oh my God, he's gonna be his right-hand man, except they call him Joaquin in the movie. I
Yeah.
thought that was cute.
They
Oh,
call him the
it's
same
something-
thing in Space Seed.
What?
There is a character that he talked to called Joaquin. It's the
That's
same.
what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
like
same
that they
character.
carried that character over.
It would have been nicer
Um,
if they had carried the actor over, but I'm sure
Yeah.
he was like older than Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah,
so-
right, right. Well, and I hadn't seen Space Seed in so many years. I was shocked that it took place. Well, Khan was in the eugenics war, killing off people that they just didn't like from this religion and that race in 1996.
Yeah, they're
That
just
blew
off
me
by
away.
2 decades.
Yeah, that was great, great, great. I was like, oh my God, 1996. I can't remember anything I was going to say. It was all coming to me. I love the movie, of course. Oh, and I saw, as you all probably you guys know, they had an off-Broadway musical last year that was called Con the Musical. It was absolutely fabulous. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And it ended with whales, so it was just a mishmash. It was hilarious, funniest thing I ever saw. So right after that, I watched this movie. I've seen this movie more times than I could ever count. I know every line. I'm a nerd when it comes to this movie. I love this movie. I love the music, the score. I love the acting. It's just the corniness of it all. You all know how much I hate seeing a close-up of this. It's just so corny to me when they overact and all the Shakespeare, all that shit. I hated that. But other than that, I love it. I will go with Joel and just give it 4 stars already. Who cares?
I
Because I have to
thought
watch
that's.
this movie
thought you
any
were
day.
going to say I loved it. 2.75.
I just want to. There's been mention of the score, and I want to say that James Horner's score for this film is a wonderful score, and it's as much as Jerry Goldsmith's score in the motion picture previously is easily the best part of that film. I think James Horner's score for this kind of tops it a little bit. So by incorporating Alexander Courageous themes from the original series and taking them in a different direction. So.
Hmm.
Well, we need to hear that theme, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when they go in the nebula and it gets all quiet and you hear the
Yeah.
it's just it's all just so beautiful. Loved it.
All right. Nostalgia reigns supreme. All right, so that's it for us. So Wrath of Khan is on Paramount Plus, as is the entire series of the original series. I think everything Star Trek is on there
Yeah,
now.
it looks like it.
It's all there.
So you could trek yourself out on Paramount Plus. Next week we are watching a parody homage
Yeah.
movie,
That's right.
Galaxy Quest, which is exactly that. That's from 1999. That was Mark's pick, and that one is also on Paramount Plus. So that's it for us. I'm
Yay.
Frank Gaffney. Go watch a movie.
And also with you.
Oh.